Hey everybody, this video is a quick preview to the finals which are happening today for the World Under-24 Championships. I'm going to talk about the Open Division, Lou's going to talk about the Women's Division, and Noah's going to talk about Mixed. First, the Open Division, where USA are facing Belgium. Both semi-finals were played today. Belgium won over Italy 15-12 in a thrilling match, whilst USA versus Germany in the other semi was a bit of a different game. It was 5-all before USA then went on a 10-point unanswered streak. The USA have only turned over once in the last 2 games in points that they start on offense, but a lot of the reason for that is that they rarely start points on offense, as they normally get a D and then score and pulls the other team. Just look at these game results where they conceded 9 points in the first couple of games, but then less than 9 in all the other ones, including beating Italy 15-2 in a game that Italy must have mentally given up on. Belgium's results, on the other hand, aren't quite so dominant. They have walked over a few teams, but they have had a few really close matches as well. The first thing I wonder about is which team is going to win the sideline. I've been on the roaming camera for Ultiworld for a few games, and I've witnessed USA dominating the sideline first against GB, where they initially came out and mocked GB's celebration, and then started aggressively spiking discs after scoring. I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was certainly effective in quieting down the GB sideline. But I do wonder if that's going to wake the dragon in Belgium. I've seen Demarais, he seems pretty nice in interviews, but today I was on the roaming camera for Belgium versus Italy, and I watched him after scoring a point go up to Davide and spike the disc in front of him. So I wonder if Belgium are going to be able to match that aggression that USA bring. Their sideline chant is quite powerful, gets both sidelines kind of bouncing off each other. I don't think they're going to be as intimidated by the USA as it seemed like GB were. In the Belgium-Italy game, the testosterone being emanated on the sideline made my nostrils sting. But the mental game against USA is a huge part of it, and it's exactly what they've been working on with Valerio Ianni. So that's probably put them in the best position possible for this matchup. If the game's close, I wonder what the USA is going to fall back on. Traditionally, there's a higher level of physicality, which I'm not a big fan of. In my opinion, a lot of physicality is just initiating contact, which is against the rules, so it's just cheating. It's like saying, oh, we'll try and turn the scoreboard over an extra point, or we'll try and knock the disc out of their hands after they catch it. Initiating contact under the guise of physicality just shouldn't be part of the game. Strategically, I know that both teams have really good short games and really good deep games. It's possible that the USA won't be so familiar with defending the less structured and less predictable Belgian offense. But that said, they haven't struggled with any of the offenses that they've seen so far, but then no team has been specifically training flow offense like Belgium have been. It's possible that USA will get a bit overeager and be keen to bid, and when those bids happen and aren't successful, Belgium will be able to move the disc really quickly against them. But either way, it's going to be interesting to see what the Belgian offense falls back on when the pressure's really on, whether they start bringing out deep throws to their big receivers, whether they go for more overheads, or whether they get comfortable with using backwards passes and shorter passes until USA bid and then punishing those bids. There are going to be loads of great matchups across the field. USA are going to have to pick marks for Demarais, Bontemps, Toby Decran and Ben Yonkers. I'm sure Daryl Stanley has all these matchups figured out already. It's going to be interesting to see whether they try and force Demarais under or deep, and see how they try and contain Belgium's hammers. This might be the strongest USA Under-24 team that's ever been seen, versus the strongest European Under-24 team that's ever been seen. It should be an incredible match whatever happens, but the real question you got to answer as you're watching the game is who's got the best moustaches? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you again soon.
In the mixed final, Singapore will meet the US after hanging on their semi-final against Canada. The Singaporeans went up early due to Canada's slow and stagnant zone offense versus Singapore's formidable zone. Canada typically handled through their male matching players, with their female matching players downfield, and this allowed the male matching Singaporean deep defender and standout player Reynald Chair to mark 2 players, giving the Cup a numerical advantage against the Canadian handlers. The Canadian O-line failed to take enough risk to make downfield progress before turning over due to errant throws or missed catches. Singapore's strength lies in this zone, which moves in an incredibly coordinated way. What this zone does better than any I've ever seen before is shut down crashes. Many zones allow these passes, even in late stalls, but the Singaporeans always manage to shut off the easy pop pass. Obviously, Singapore's double team D from the quarterfinal caused a lot of controversy, but I thought they did a better job in the semi-final limiting the number of double teams. Felix has already talked about Singapore's flow. They move the disc really quickly with interesting triangular movements to access the break side and get flow going downfield. Singapore are just so consistent in taking and executing not just short passes, but almost 0-yard pop passes that just keep the tempo up and keep defenders moving to try and open up the options downfield. Another feature of Singapore's offense is vertical inactivity, sometimes only activating 3 to 4 players and leaving the others behind the play on fast breaks or way deep to create dominator-like situations. There are some concerns for Singapore though, a 15-5 loss to the US in powerfuls for one, and even though that score is bad for Singapore, I think the even bigger problem is that the Americans have already played against their zone. We'll have to see if they can pull out a huge upset against the as yet unchallenged US team.
In the women's division, the USA have had a strong tournament with no team putting more than 10 goals past them. But despite the decisive scoreline, they were far from perfect in their 15-10 semi-final victory over Germany. And having not been truly pushed for a full game all tournament, could they be vulnerable facing an informed Japan side in the final? Japan were pushed hard in their quarter-final against Australia, clawing their way back to get 2 breaks towards the end of the second half, and a third to close out the win, 15-13. In their semi-final, Japan returned to their pool stage form, demolishing Canada 15-5 and reasserting themselves as the most dominant team in the tournament. As we've seen in previous games, Japan gave the disc away plenty of times, but they almost always seemed to get it back. Japan's defense is fascinating to watch. Teams just can't play against it. The vast majority of their opponents' turnovers seem to come from unforced errors, but can you really call them unforced when they happen so frequently? Canada turned the disc over 26 times, but only 8 of those were clear blocks by Japanese defenders, including a fantastic heads-up poach block and some spectacular run-through Ds, showing they can make the big defensive plays as well as anyone. There were so many simple errors, however, that Ultiworld even made a replay package of Canadian drops.
Some straight-up execution errors at times for Canada, and I think sometimes when
Japan used their full squad incredibly well. Each of their 8 blocks against Canada came from a different player, and 15 out of their 26-strong squad got at least 1 goal or assist. Some crucial players to look out for in particular, though, include captain and key offensive handler number 88, Mayaka Takada, as well as the big deep threat of number 89, Hikari Hashizume, and key role player number 24, Miri Matsuzaki. The only strategy that's shown itself to work well against Japan is putting up big discs to big receivers like Australia did, but even then, throughout the game Japan made tactical adjustments that eventually led to Australia being unable to convert their scoring opportunities. This fate could well befall the USA. It's a matchup of the 2 best defensive teams in the division. Will the USA's raw talent and athleticism come out on top, or will Japan's tactical mastery and experience under high pressure pull them through? We'll get to find out very soon.